explosive all of a sudden.
Games aren't won on one day. Games aren't won with one play. Games are won over the course of an entire week.
This is the U.S. Bank Cougar Coaches Show on the Washington State IMG Sports Network. U.S. Bank, proud sponsor of the Washington State Cougars. U.S. Bank, the power of possible. Tonight's show is also brought to you by Northern Quest Resort and Casino, by Zeppo's, the home for the Cougar Coaches Show, and by Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Now, live from Zeppo's alongside Cougar head coach Mike Leach, here's the voice of the Cougars, Matt Chazanow.
It's game week. It's great to be back with everybody. We've got a packed house here at Zeppo's. Great to see everybody. How about that Cougar defense? 31-0, another shutout, the third in the last two seasons, and we are into just the infancy of this 2018 season. The official stat that I just got confirmed, 11 straight punts forced by the Cougar defense. 11 consecutive punts forced, and then when they didn't force a punt, they got the Deion Singleton interception. So they didn't get the punt, they got the pick at that 1 yard line there, right there toward that goal line. Incredible job, a 31-0 game, the final score over San Jose State. So Cougs are 2-0. Eastern Washington comes in 2-0 and ranked 5th in the nation in the FCS. The Eagles were picked to win the Big Sky this year by the coaches and the media. We'll be joined here by Coach Leach momentarily. He's just driving off the practice field with the Thursday Night Football guys. They are in Martin Stadium and probably just wrapped up. So Coach will be here in just a moment. Of course, we all remember the season opener a couple years ago, 45-42. The last two have been close games against Eastern. The 24-20 final where the batted down ball in the end zone in 2012 was right there. And then, Cooper Kupp and Kendrick Bourne and Shaq Hill, 3 pro receivers for the Eagles in that game. They were really good, and they come into this one undefeated. And Gage Gabrut is still their quarterback. He was the quarterback in that game against the Cougs, and Eastern has proven to be a really good team. They just won at Northern Arizona University, and they beat Central Washington as well. 58-13 and 31-26. They're averaging over 600 yards a game of offense. So it's going to be what a matchup. You've got the guys from Cheney coming down. This great offense against the Cougar defense, Tracy Claeys, which is one of the best in the country now. And, of course, Coach Leach leads the Pac-12 in passing, 369 yards a game through 2. And the Cougs right now are number 2 in the country in total defense through their first 2 games. Let's listen back to the 31-0 win over San Jose State. We'll take a break, and then we'll come back with Coach Leach, who's en route.
Cougs, Spartans.
We're set to kick off the 2018 home schedule. And Minshew staring at the Crimson.
in line at 866-COOG-TALK. That's 1-866-268-4825. Now, back to the show.
Back here live at Zeppo's Talking Football. Mike Leach is just moments away. He's probably pulling up. He's on right around the corner, I think, coming down from campus, so I'm told. We have such a great crowd, as always, here, especially for home games. It's so great to see everybody, and one of the things we started doing was taking questions written in from the crowd. If you've got a question and you want to write in to Coach, then just slap it up here on the desk, and we'll try to get it in. We've already got a few good ones already. You can tweet them in at M_Chaz, and if you'd like to make a phone call, it's 866-268-4825, 866 Coug Talk. I think we might have had a phone issue last week. I think that's resolved, so it's 866-268-4825 if you'd like to talk to Coach. Download the all-new WSU Cougar Game Day app presented by Gus Johnson Ford today. Enjoy exclusive content, maps, up-to-the-minute news, live audio, game day offers, and more available in the App Store and Google Play. Download today. So the Cougs come into this one with 2 games now, started by the Gardner Minshew. Gardner, 733 yards, 6 TDs, 3 interceptions, 66% completion percentage, 72 of 108. And don't forget now, we mentioned the Cougar D before against San Jose State. If you go back even further to Laramie, they've given up no touchdowns in the last 6 quarters. They only allowed 3 points in the second half in Laramie. So the Cougar defense hasn't allowed a touchdown in a game and a half. And then offensively, like I said, you've got Minshew throwing the ball to names that I think folks didn't know because they really hadn't seen him. Terrel Harris has played really well. Harris has 7 grabs now for 87 yards. Of course, Max Borghi, super exciting. And currently the Coug leading receiver is running back James Williams. He's got 14 catches for 87 yards as well. How about that Tay Martin grab over the back of the DB down that sideline there? He's got 2 TDs, 141 yards to lead the team for the Cougs, and 11 receptions. And the Cougar offense is rolling once again. Williams has a 4.5 per carry average, and Borghi has a 5.5 per carry average as a true freshman. Max Borghi, who was last year's Colorado Player of the Year in high school, and Borghi has come in and has played phenomenal football early on here, had the 2 touchdowns in Laramie, had 1 receiving and then had 1 rushing as well. So you've got Borghi, you got Aesop Winston, who caught that touchdown, the fade pattern in the corner there in Laramie. Aesop with 6 grabs on the year. And again, the Cougar offense, which there's an unofficial stat that we get. It's not an official stat, but unofficially, the Cougs get the ball spread around per average to about 10 guys a game. It's on average like 9.7, and unofficially that leads the country. There may be game to game some variation there, but basically that's the best in the country, and that's how Mike Leach wants it. And he's got Tay Martin, Aesop Winston, Des Patman's played really well. Des had a really tough grab down the seam against San Jose State. He's played pretty well this first 2 games, 6'4", 212. Kind of came on late in the last 6 games last year, the San Diego kid. And he's been a big-time target. And we haven't even really seen much of Rod Fisher, Calvin Jackson Jr., you had Drew Jackson as a potential. There's so many weapons here for the Cougs. Brandon Arconado. How about Jameer Calvin had a breakout game? Jameer with 9 catches for 118 yards on the season. He hasn't gotten in the end zone yet, but he almost did. His foot just came out on the white on a near touchdown reception. And Kyle Sweet, I haven't even mentioned Kyle yet. Kyle's one of the veterans returning on the team. Kyle with 6 grabs for 92 yards, and he hasn't even really gotten in the action yet. And then the offensive line hasn't even allowed a sack. 0 sacks allowed on the year through 2 games for the Cougar line. Incredible for the big guys. Dillard, Liam Ryan, Freddie Malangoa, Josh Watson, Abe Lucas, who looks fantastic, 6'7", 320, the redshirt freshman from the west side. And Liam Ryan won the Bone Award in the first game. Liam's a first-year starter, and then Josh Watson's a first-year starter. And you've got all the youth on this team. Those guys are both redshirt sophomores, and of course Andre Dillard as a redshirt senior is one of the staples, and Abe on the right side. I can't say enough about how good he's looked from day one in Lewiston. He put on 30 pounds. He's put on 60 pounds since high school. He's put on 30 pounds in each of the past 2 years, and just looks incredible as being told that Mike Leach is going to walk in the building here to Zeppo's in just a moment. And, boy, it's just an embarrassment of riches, if you will. Rob Lewis, I haven't even mentioned Rob Lou. Rob Lou back for his 6th year, the graduate student now for the Cougs, is back in here, and he's had so many big grabs over the years. Of course, the memorable double OT win in Eugene. Rob Lou had that catch that bounced off one of the guys at that goal line there, caught that ball, went right into the end zone. He's back, and he's made a ton of plays in practice that I've watched. He's looked really good. Saw backup nickel Keydron Williams for the first time. Keydron is backing up Hunter Dale, and Keydron's in there as a true freshman, really good-looking athlete, 6 foot, 185 from California. And the rush linebackers have been incredible. Dom Silvels, Willie Taylor. There's a stat organization that our sports information department allows me to get a little insight into. They rated Willie Taylor as one of the top quarterback rushers in the country after 1 week in Laramie. And he'd only played like 16 snaps, so he didn't get a ton of action. But in getting that action, he had like some incredible percentage of penetration. Willie Taylor was just phenomenal, and I'm really happy to see Deion Singleton with that interception there. He's kind of bounced around. Deion was a corner. He was a safety as well. Deion got the pick, and Mike Leach joins us here. Let's give him a round of applause coming off the practice field. So we'll get Coach mic'd up here with the headset in just a second here. Of course, you got Moulton and Harper and Dale and Thompson and Skylar Thomas, who's one of the top tacklers on the team, 9 tackles in each of the last 2 games. As Coach throws the headset on, how you doing, buddy? How's practice today?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought that we had a good practice with the varsity guys, and then I thought that Thursday night football, I thought it was a little spotty with the offense. I thought the defense flew to the ball good and were pretty dominant out there.
Speaking of which, let's harp on that a little bit. Let's talk about that defense. Shutout, forced 11 straight punts. They had 11 straight punts in the game. They had, let's get that mic fixed there. There we go. 11 straight punts. Had the shutout, 3rd shutout in the last 2 years. 11 straight punts, and then when they didn't get a punt, they got a pick. The Deion Singleton interception near the goal line. Defense was just phenomenal against the Spartans, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we want to see Singleton make those plays all the time. Singleton, that was a heck of a play by Singleton, but yeah, that's the thing. Just keep taking drives away, which I thought our defense did throughout the night. I thought together we had a pretty good 4th quarter.
Defense gets a shutout like that and forces 11 straight punts and locks the Spartans down, and the 4th fewest yards ever allowed. How much do you talk to Tracy Claeys after the game? How much do you guys interact, or is it midweek and game planning for the next week? How does that work between you and the new DC?
Well, Sunday we'll meet as a staff, and we'll discuss and kind of go through the debriefing of the game and talk about how the game went and what we saw and what we thought, and really, I mean, most of the conversations how to get better, how to improve, because in the end the game is what the game is, and then how to improve it, and then we so the first meeting is that, and then we'll then you try to start on the second game as quick as you can, the next game, and then go out there and practice and make corrections from the previous game. Then once that happens, as far as we're concerned, and we specifically say this, the previous game's over, nothing about it counts, and then we're strictly on to the next game. And then as coaches, we stay up there for a crazy amount of time and hours. I usually get out around 1 a.m. on Sunday, watching film for the next opponent, and then which that won't get done, and then Sunday I hammer away and then get out of there Sunday about 1 a.m. But then it's complete then.
So Saturday and
Sunday and Monday are the longest days.
So let's go right to the questions. We've got so many great Cougs here in the house for this homie packed house here at Zeppo's. Great crowd, great to see everybody. And maybe the best question of the year so far comes from 3-year-old Samantha at that table right over there, and she wants to know, Coach, what do you? Yep, there she is. She wants to know what do you eat? What do you eat before the games? And she wants you to know that she eats popcorn before the games. which sounds like a phenomenal choice.
I love popcorn, and I eat popcorn. I guess in a perfect world, I'd eat popcorn 3 times a week. I tried to get my wife to make me popcorn last night, and she wouldn't. And she makes great popcorn. It's one of her signature dishes, and she was the youngest of 5 girls. Sharon was the youngest of 5 girls, which is, besides the fact it's nearly statistically impossible. Nevertheless, youngest of 5 girls. I was the oldest of 5. I taught her to cook, and since then she's well surpassed me. But one thing she did bring to the table was she was great at popcorn. And she could make popcorn right from the beginning, and I've enjoyed it for years. And if it gets too late, though, she won't always make it, no matter how much you want or how much you beg. But one day Samantha will have to come over, and we'll give her some popcorn. And I think, and then of course I have it at the movie when we take the team to the movies.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that question, Samantha. And you're going to need to take Coach up on that. Okay, you're going to have to get some of Coach Leach's, some of Miss Sharon's popcorn when you head over there.
Yeah, I always have it buttered with Sharon, and then they just dump oil on it at the movie, so I get it without butter at the movies.
Thank you for that question, Samantha. We really appreciate your putting the question in on the show. We've got a football question here for you, and this is kind of an air raid passing football-oriented question. How do you deal with an 8-man drop? And by that, I think the spirit of the question is you got so many guys you throw the ball to. You're leading the Pac-12 in passing again through 2 weeks, and then when the defense, you got 11 guys in the field. They drop 8 guys back, so there's all those defenders out there. When you're calling the plays, and that's what the scheme is, how do you deal with that?
Well, it depends when they do it. If it's on a regular down and you recognize that you'd like to get into a run or like some kind of a quick game underneath it. If it's 3rd and long, and it's kind of funny because a lot of these people think that all you do is just run against 8-man drop. Well, if it's 3rd and long, you may run it once in a while, but you throw it anyway, and you have to be able to throw it anyway. And if you can't throw it anyway, you're not going to convert many third and longs, and we have to get better at it.
So there it is. So kind of situational, and depends on what's going on in the field. Thank you for that question there. Let's get right to another one. This is one where it's been a little bit confusing. There was a moment in Laramie where it was really confusing, and it is brand new. And there was a penalty thrown on this play. There's a fair catch rule now on kickoffs. That's new. You were not allowed to do that previously. How does that rule work, and when do you think it's used, and what does that rule? How does that rule work into the kickoff situation?
Well, they can fair catch it, and they get the ball on the 25. So if they fair catch it, they get the ball on the 25.
Which is new. Before if you had if you did that on a kickoff, you wouldn't have gotten.
Yeah, you couldn't fair catch.
No, not part of the equation. So if that makes sense, maybe that kind of clears that up a little bit. All right, Coach, we're going to take a break here. We're up against it. It's great to be back with everybody here. Big game against those guys from up in Cheney coming up. We're getting set for the Eastern Washington Eagles coming up live here at Zeppo's on the Washington State IMG Sports Network.
Matt Chazanow.
Back here live at Zeppo's talking football with the head man himself, Mike Leach, as we are rolling here into the Eastern Washington Eagle Week. Game 3, both teams are 2-0. This is always one of my favorite questions. You and I have spoken about this quite a bit, but I think it's unique and it's really interesting and it's football related. And the question is, what notes do you keep on that small piece of paper on the sideline?
The small piece of paper has the game plan, and I have good eyes and have since I was a kid. Not perfect, but the same vision I've always had. And so then, so it's a Xerox piece of paper and has the game plan on it. I don't like having all 5 sheets tied to you in the size of a refrigerator box, any of that. And because I figure we have about 60-some plays on there, and I figure some of those plays will probably work, and so I'll call those ones again. And we tend to lead the nation, or we're right there as far as most plays run in a game. And if you get around 80, 85 plays, you'll have the most plays run in a game. And so we go into it with about 60 or slightly more, which I think is a good number. And and we have it organized into situations and sort out what we like when or where. Any of that subject to change if we see something else or need to adjust to something else. And so I have it folded up in a way which would take a while to describe, but I fold it in half and fold it in another quarter, and then
It's like an origami.
I can flip it around and I can stick it in my pocket real quick, like, so that I can use my hands to signal, and then that way I don't have to stick my pen in my mouth and then cross my legs to hold the call sheet and struggle to signal the plays, and then off we go from there, and if they're pretty good, maybe they'll work.
But I think this is why this question pops up. You've been doing this for about 20 years now, and other coaches that have won as much as you've won have like you said, it's like a big sheet, photo.
Oh, they'll have 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, colored.
And I mean, you're talking 250, 400 play. I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's a long game if you get 400 plays. I'd like to have a 400 play game. Would probably need a little bigger roster and things like that. But and we don't have 400 plays anyway. So.
Well, I love that. I love watching the sideline with the little play sheet. We've got a question here from Bryson, who's 5, and I don't know where. There's Bryson. Bryson's sitting actually with Samantha, and Bryson wants to know, and I think he loves Sour Patch Kids, and he wants to know if you like Sour Patch Kids, Coach.
They're okay. Not my favorite, but I think they're okay. And I liked all things sour when I was your age because, the more sour you can go, the tougher you are than the other kids. So that did appeal to me. And then nowadays I'm kind of a gummy bear guy. I've always been a red vine guy. And you need the Haribo's gummy bears, none of those imitation ones. Haribo gummy bears.
Classic.
Red vines, not to be confused with some of them that can be kind of waxy. I'm trying to think other candy I get. I like those Welch's things decent. When I was his age, I was big into apple sticks, or cherry sticks, apple sticks, Jolly Rancher. I'd get those Jolly Rancher sticks. You'd get 2 of them, and 2 of them would last for a whole movie. And may take you to the dentist years down the road, but it would last for, because, you're sitting there and you got it almost, and it's getting thin, you're saying, why don't I just crunch on it,
Thank you, Bryson. Thank you, Bryson and Samantha, for both your questions. Love having you here. Cindy wants to know, and you kind of alluded to this, especially for a late game, and I think some fans can identify with this. I think the tailgate lots could identify with this to a degree. How long does it take you as a coach, and maybe even the staff, to unwind after a game? What's your process like? I mean, players go back, take a shower, hit the charter on the road, and you're back with everybody. But for a home game, there's a moment where you probably want to settle down a little bit. How long does it take? Are you in the locker room? Are you in the office? How does that work? Head straight home.
I get out of the generally I get out of the I'm the last one to leave the stadium usually because of the media, and then then I get home and then it's there's no real winding down. You don't just instantly wind down. Win or lose, you don't wind down, and so um, it depends when the game is, but I'm up late, really late, and then you have to come out swinging on Sunday, and because Sunday's a long day no matter what. So then, but yeah, you can't really wind down if if you're real disciplined, which I'm not, and you just go out to go to bed, then I'm just laying on my back. I'm pretending I went to bed, and so then you just lay on the back, and then, in best case scenario, you get up and you watch a real interesting show. And then in the midst of that, I paused all the time and then take notes to get prepared for the next day. So it's, it's kind of all consuming in sort of an unhealthy way.
I feel like the Sunday turnaround's not quite as springy in the tailgate lots. You're right back at it. I think the tailgate lots are a little more sedate on Sunday mornings. Just a guess.
Yeah, well, Sunday you got to get rolling. There's no, I'll sleep in a little bit, but still, I mean, when you add it all up, it's not many hours of sleep.
Mark from Riverside, who was here last week, not sure if he's here for this game, he asks a question, offensive question. Is the air raid dependent on the QB being in the shotgun, or can the same concepts be run under center if you're going to run the same system and principles?
No, we did them under center for years. We did them under center for years and years. And under center is fine. You can... you get a little more time out of the shotgun, so that part's good. If they do inside blitzes, you can get the back in front of the quarterback easier out of shotgun. Fade routes in particular, I think, are thrown better under center. Well, because you secure the ball and you can get rid of it sooner. I mean, you catch and throw it, especially down there on the goal line. The other thing under center, stuff can, depending how quickly it develops, it can time up a little bit better. And then, so I guess I think a mixture of it may be ideal as long as it's not disruptive. But what'll happen is as you hurry up like we do, almost every quarterback I've had always gravitates to the shotgun, then becomes more shotgun. Overall, for what we do, shotgun is a superior way to do it, but they both have benefits.
Thank you, Mark, for that question on Twitter. Thanks for everybody who got their questions in here, including Bryson. We really love having you guys part of the show. For the world's most refreshing beer, 21 means 21. Celebrate responsibly with Coors Light, Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. We're up against a break. We'll come back with a few more questions here live at Zeppo's Full House, Packed House with Coach Leach here on the Washington State IMG Sports Network.
Interact with the show. Give us a call on the bookie call-in line at 866-COOG-TALK, 1-866-268-4825. Live from Zeppo's alongside Cougar head coach Mike Leach. Here's Matt Chazanow.
Back here live at Zeppo's talking football with Mike Leach. We've got Eastern Washington coming up. We'll do our opponent preview in just a little bit. We'll talk about the Eagles coming down from Cheney, the number 5th ranked FCS team in the country. And before we get to that next segment, Coach, you've got that. In fact, a lot of the country was talking about what you were doing. You started it in Laramie. You continued it against San Jose State. Every once in a while, Kyle Sweet will be in the slot, and he'll snap the ball with nobody in front of him and nobody near him. He's on an island out there in the slot, and he'll snap the ball back to James Williams or maybe back to somebody. What started that? What can you tell us about that formation that, has been so much fun to watch and, frankly, been successful? You've gotten a bunch of 5-yard runs out of it and maybe some more.
Yeah, well, it all kind of started. I mean, this is older than people realize. I guess it kind of went out of style, but on extra points, when people do 2-point conversions, they would often, do this type of deal, and it was always called the swinging gate.
Yeah.
And then, so they would do the swinging gate, and then
that's because it kind of looked like that, right? Like the whole.
I don't know. I mean, who knows where these names
Swinging
come
gate.
from? I get in debates with people all the time whether it's called the shovel pass, the shuttle pass, the Utah pass. I mean, there's like 30 names, and then and then the other thing is somebody will have different terminology, and then they'll very self-righteously correct you. Oh no, it's always like this. like they're the only one that knows. And then swinging gate. I don't have one earthly idea why it became called the swinging gate.
Can we roll? Let's roll with that. I think it looks like a gate. I'm gonna claim
Okay,
that.
well that's exactly why. It's
Thank you.
because as Matt observed,
Yeah.
although I failed to, and I think
Yeah.
others did as
Yeah,
well.
it's a gate.
Said, well, it's sort of like a gate.
Sticking
and
to
then and so then they would do various things. I mean, maybe they'd do some pitch it to the kicker, or they'd put somebody in motion, pitch it to him, throw it over there to the guy behind the lineman, and just do a variety of stuff. And then so when I was in Cambodia, I got to talking to again a fellow from Microsoft, and they're clever and everything, because they do code. They can read your mind. They can check your text messages. They can steal your emails, and they can tell what television shows you like and all that stuff. And so then, so I figured, why not start with a guy that thinks about things on a broader level than I did. And plus, we had fun. We talked about it for days, and all of a sudden there'd be a napkin. He'd draw something up, and then some. Some of it I kind of liked, and then.
Let me. I don't mean to interrupt. Let me be clear. You kind of came up with the idea for this in Cambodia.
Yeah. Well, and so then, as he's drawing this stuff up, and it looks pretty good, and then. So I figured we'd try it because the players love trying new stuff, and they get kind of excited to try new stuff. And so we'd go out there and try new stuff. And so we kind of have a variation from time to time. We'll probably keep doing it. And then it's never going to be really the core necessarily. It might be. You never know. We may just do swinging gate the whole time. But we're experimenting with it, and some of the stuff looks pretty good out of it.
Yeah, for sure. It's been super fun to watch. So then that dovetails really well with this question. We'll piggyback it with Trey Tinsley's quarterback. And for a moment before his knee pad was off, he came in the game to play a little QB. And the question,
well, he'd been playing all game as the holder because he's the holder. So he'd been playing the whole game.
Well, that's a great point. Yeah.
Well, and then all of a sudden there was some dissatisfaction with
the knee pad, new knee pad rule.
Anyway.
Yeah. So the question is, why don't you, or have you ever considered, and don't let the cat out of the bag on this if you don't want to, of course, but he's a quarterback, he's holding the ball, you do a little fake kick action in addition to your wild formation. What do you think?
Well, we have dozens of quarterback passes out of the field goal formation, and that probably as many as the imagination can imagine. And so really our opponents, I think, need to be prepared for every one of them because, because if we sense even the slightest vulnerability, Tinsley's going to be zinging that thing downfield, and we might even just line up and field goal on first down just to do it and have our fun. But beware of Tinsley back there because you don't know what's going to happen.
The clock never winds down at Northern Quest with 24/7 gaming, great restaurants and lounges, movie theaters, luxury rooms, and more. Details at northernquest.com. Back here live with Coach Leach, packed house at Zeppo's on the Washington State IMG Sports Network.
Preview Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Back here live at Zeppo's. It is that time in the show where we're going to talk about the opponent here with the head man, Mike Leach. Great to be back here with you. We've got a couple of segments left here. Coach Gage Gabrud, he was the quarterback that did so well against the Cougs in Martin Stadium a couple of years ago. He's still there. He's a redshirt senior now. He had over 500 yards of offense a couple of years ago in Martin Stadium. What does he look like on film now? I'm sure he's developed a little bit. It's been some time.
I thought he was pretty far along when we played him before. He's a good player, and the other thing is, like all quarterbacks, what they do best is they play within themselves. I would say he probably runs a little less now and, stands in there. But, he was a pretty polished guy when we played him before. And then, of course, he was thrown to, a couple NFL receivers. One of them, Cooper Kupp, I thought was a great player. And then, he looks similar to what he did before, really.
I say this as a credit to Eastern, but the last time they were in Martin Stadium, they had the current Cal offensive coordinator, the current Utah offensive coordinator on their coaching staff. They had 2 NFL wide receivers, and then they had a third wide receiver in the CFL. Right now, that was a loaded group.
Yeah, and they had a D-end, a D-end that went.
He's in the Rams. He's with Cooper Kupp on the Rams.
Yeah, like in the first 2 or 3 rounds or whatever.
Yeah.
And I actually thought Cooper Kupp kind of got screwed because he would have been the first receiver I picked. But, anyway, but yeah, he's getting it done now.
They seem offensively right now. We're in the opponent preview section of the coaches show here. Simba Webster, and he's a redshirt senior. He's got 17 catches, 4 touchdowns. The next leading receiver is a running back with 4 catches. They've really fed this guy, Simba Webster, who looks like he's super fast on film.
Well, he is. He's a quick guy. He's kind of a quick, comes out of his cuts real fast, and then he can hit full speed pretty quickly. And so, yeah, he's definitely a good player.
So defensively, the guys you're trying to score the ball against, what do they look like on defense?
They're good on defense. You know, there's some discussion whether they're better on defense or offense this year. I would have to say this is one of the better Eastern Washington defenses I've seen, and they haven't given up a ton of points either. And so I think they play together well. The biggest thing you see, there's not a ton of stars that just jump off the thing, but together they play very well. They're very aggressive. They're very disciplined. They're loaded with seniors. I mean, nearly everybody on there's a senior. If you see them in an Eastern Washington jersey, they're probably a senior.
They really do have a ton of seniors. In fact, because of that, a lot of the guys, they've got 32 guys back on their team who were in that game a couple of years ago. One of them is Cole Karstetter, Jared's younger brother. Jared, longtime, great wide receiver. And Cooper Kupp's younger brother actually is a linebacker on this team named Kettner Kupp. And those two guys are both linebackers in this crew. Jeff Schmedding's the D coordinator. He was the D coordinator a couple of years ago. He's been there quite a while in Cheney.
Yeah, no, they do a good job there. So it's a good, solid defense.
All right, we're going to take a break, come back live here at Zeppo's. That's our opponent previews. We're getting set, rolling toward Eastern Washington. Again, it's a 5 o'clock kick, and we'll be on the air live at 3 o'clock. It'll be Derek Dice and Grady Emerson live from Rogers Field. It's the Cougs and the Eagles, and we're back here live with Coach Leach next from Zeppo's.
This is the U.S. Bank Cougar Coaches Show. Give us a call on the bookie call-in line at 866-COUG-TALK. That's 1-866-268-4825. Now, back to the show.
Back here live at Zeppo's, we're talking football with Mike Leach. We do it every week here on a game week. Thursday nights, packed house. It's the Cougs against the Eagles coming up. Again, a 5 o'clock kick, a 3 p.m. network-wide airtime with Dice and Emerson. Coach, you were unsure potentially of who the starting QB would be. I should say, we were unsure of who the starting QB would be coming into Laramie. I'm not going to hold you to anything going into Eastern Washington. You've got 4 guys, 3 guys as options, but we've seen Gardner Minshew as the guy, 66%, 733 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks. How's Gardner been through 2 games?
He's played pretty good. I think the impressive thing that he's done is. He hadn't been here very long, and generally that position, and when you deal with so many different players that you don't know, and I'm not talking about personally, but what they do individually, who goes where and what their tendencies are and what their habits are, as far as where they're going to be when on the field, that can be difficult, but he assembled the scheme, the identity with the team, and then the ability to utilize the personnel, I thought remarkably effective in a quick fashion, and I think that's still developing. I think he'll get better and better as the season goes on.
He seems to have a rapport with a couple of guys in particular. Tay Martin, who may be easy to have a rapport with. If you throw it up there, Tay can really go up and get it, can't he?
Yeah, Tay does a lot of good things. But we need to do a better job of being consistent. Right now, we're explosive on offense. We're not as consistent as we need to be, and I think we got, like I say, a lot of young, explosive receivers, but we need that consistency. We got to iron it out and be a more consistent team.
Speaking of explosive, Terrel Harris comes to mind. What have your thoughts on Terrell been out of the slot?
Terrell's done a really good job. He redshirted last year, and I think it was a good thing that he did. And then he's faster than you think. 2 things with Terrell Harris. He's smaller than you think, and he's faster than you think. And then, but he does deliver a blow when he hits something. And so anyway, he's really doing a good job, and he's going to be around here for a long time and continues to improve as well.
Probably should have mentioned James Williams sooner. 14 receptions on the year, leads the Cougs, 2 touchdowns. He got 3 total because he ran one in as well. But, James, 71 catches last year, led the nation in receptions for running backs out of the backfield. James has just been phenomenal to start this year, hasn't he?
Well, I think phenomenal is a little bit of a stretch.
Okay,
but
not quite phenomenal.
I think he's been better than average, and I think that James can improve too. James has got a good combination of explosion and power. He's pretty good with his hands. A consistent James Williams would be a real weapon.
Well, how's Max Borghi been then? If James is...
He's been good. Max would be another guy that I think I've been really impressed with how quickly he's picked things up. Max came here as a freshman, had only been here a couple months, and Max by nature is kind of consistent. He's a guy that asks a lot of questions, and a guy that wants to kind of know the big picture of things. And I'm not sure how he stacks up for sure, but he might be the fastest guy on the team. I don't know that for sure, but he's easily in the top 5 and probably the top 3. But it comes out of his cuts quickly, and is just kind of a powerful ball coming at you as well as being fast.
He had a couple touchdowns in his first game. Kyle Sweet, Jameer Calvin. Jameer had a career game against the Cowboys in game 1. He's been great as well. And Kyle, Kyle's had this incredible career. He was a wide receiver punter last year with that rugby style deal, and now he's punt returner and slot receiver. He's been super valuable.
Yeah, Kyle's got a lot of versatility and really does kind of provide some consistency in there. And then, because a lot of these guys, they're going to be around here for multiple years, and then Kyle's really the only senior of the bunch.
All right, let's take a break. Our final break. We'll come back here live, put a bow on this one before we get to the Eastern Washington Eagles coming up Saturday, live here at Zeppo's on the Washington State IMG Sports Network. Final segment. We're back here live at Zeppo's talking football here with Coach Leach. U.S. Bank, proud sponsor of the Washington State Cougars. U.S. Bank, the power of possible. Big Sky's a really good league. Top of the Big Sky, obviously, we're talking about all those pros that Eastern has put in the NFL. You mentioned they've got a D lineman on the Rams. They have a starting wide receiver on the Rams. They've got 4 in the NFL right now. The Big Sky, the top of the Big Sky, which is what Eastern was picked to win the league, is as good a football as you're going to find in many places, isn't it?
Well, the Big Sky's been good for a long time, and in a lot of times, I'm not sure the stats on it, but the Big Sky, I'm not sure they haven't won more national championships out of that league than any other league.
Does feel like when you get into that FCS playoff scenario, it's always Big Sky schools there toward the end, Eastern and all that. UC Davis also beat San Jose State. I think they play a Pac-12 school this weekend too. But the top Big Sky schools, Sacramento State's given teams a hard time. Portland State, of course, has had some really good teams. I mean, it's a good league. It really is.
Oh, yeah, there's been I'm trying to think of one that hasn't won the whole thing before, and
Yeah.
I don't know that I can. You got all those, of course, great. And then prior to that, you had Nevada and Boise State.
So it's amazing, really. We went through the offense, and I neglected and really shouldn't have. I got to mention, the O-line is not allowed a sack yet. How has the O-line played, in your opinion? I know statistically it's great, but how do you think they've been?
I think they're doing some good things. I do think we got to get more consistent there, and I also think Gardner's bailed us out of some of those sacks. But by the same token, too many throws have been affected too.
Yeah, he was under pressure. He threw that one interception in Laramie. He's had a little bit of pressure, but Liam Ryan, who's a new starter, Josh Watson, who's a new starter. Liam won the Bone Award, your top offensive lineman award in the first game 2 weeks ago. And you said you love how much Liam's improved. He's just worked really hard.
Yeah, Liam's gotten bigger and stronger, and just needs to be more disciplined in reading his keys and things like that, and get his eyes in the right place. And I'd say as a whole team, especially on offense, though, we need to have our eyes in the right place.
Yeah, and then how's Josh Watson been? That record we got about 60 seconds.
He's done a good job. He's he's a guy that's kind of gotten himself in the starting lineup and just continues to improve.
Hey, thanks everybody for coming. It's Eastern Washington on Saturday. Great to see everybody here in a packed house. Love the questions. Much thanks specifically to Samantha and Bryson. Thank you guys. Jerry Kylo does such a great job to get us on the air every time. Dom Catronio back in the U.S. Bank Network studios. Jared Prengruber over there in the corner. He does a fantastic job as well. Thanks so much to everybody for coming. 3 o'clock airtime on Saturday. Cougs and Eagles.